So hello everyone, it's Toby. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. Today we're sketching the three brothers from Riga. Now if you check the description you'll find the sort of link to these lovely buildings. And I'm just using a Google image as my reference today. It's not actually the reference I'm showing you because my reference isn't royalty free. But just Google it and you'll find my reference, no problem. And what we're doing really simple watercolor shapes. So I'm actually going to start this time, you can see, with a really simple pencil outline. And then we'll jump straight into the watercolors using this 1-inch flat brush. And then later on, this medium Chinese style brush. And how do we do this? Well, we just jump straight in with bold and lovely colors, finding those shapes. You can see the pencil, how simple those shapes are. Just a few lines really. And it's because these light watercolors, they just don't matter exactly where they're going. They're just providing a little bit of light behind the scene. So in this first building, I've got a few things going on actually. I've got first a bit of Hansa yellow medium, then some quinacridone gold. And then to really amp up the green, a bit of green gold, a bit of cascade green. And what I'm looking for, one of the keys in this kind of sketching is to get that initial wash nice and varied and nice and loose. And you can see lots of water, plenty of water on that page. Next I'm moving on, and this is mostly a bit of Hansa yellow now. And you can see, as well as sketching out these big shapes, I'm leaving some other shapes. I'm leaving negative space. That negative space is going to let us bring in things like the windows in a little bit. And then we can also join up these shapes a little bit more. Then a little bit of Scarlet Lake, just to drop in these roofs. Now you'll notice that Scarlet Lake is going to blend, and you'll notice how the green building is blending into the yellow one, and the shadowy part of the yellow building is blending into the light part. The blending of these colours is absolutely what I'm after. Going into the back, this building on the right is, I'm just going to amplify the shadow. So I'm using a bit of Perlin Violet, a bit of Indigo, and now a bit of Sepia in the front. And again, look at the focus is to get all these colours blending. It's absolutely fine at this stage to have things looking scary, looking loose, looking like, oh my word, what on earth are we doing? How on earth are we ever going to make this look like something? That is a natural part of the process. And it's also okay to just play with your colours and sort of make the colours perhaps different from what they are. So adding in that really bold red when really it's not that bold in our reference, making these shadows really deep with some fun indigo and Perlin Violet. And that's okay. And when these colours play around on the image, we then get to react. We get to sort of have a bit of fun after and see how the image develops naturally. Not just control it, but have a bit of fun. So I'm just continuing, as I witter on, just continuing to find shapes. You might have noticed me on that green building popping in some windows. And look how they've just disappeared. Again, that's fine. Just suggesting these initial things at the beginning is more than enough. Now to end this layer, look at these splashes of water. Just in those shadows, look how those splashes of water really create such a fascinating texture. Again, this is a texture we can come on top of later. And we can just find, knowing that these colours are going to soften, we can find some of those darks, pop them in, pop in a few dark splashes, and just see what happens. And then we're basically done with this layer at this point. So what I'm going to do, let this dry, probably take 5 or 10 minutes to dry, and see what happens. And things will look a lot less scary when we come back. So time for that mandatory coffee before we jump back and look. Just look how quickly, you might even want to flick the video back and look how much things look less scary now. Now that things have dried, they look so much less scary, so much more approachable and softer. And now it's time to swap to our medium-sized Chinese brush. And we're just going to be adding in bolder colours, enhancing our shapes. So here's a bit of, initially, Scarlet Lake, just to enhance that orange, combined with a bit of Perlin Violet. Now you might get, perhaps some people I know get a bit frustrated if I'm not really clear about the colours I'm using. Now the reason sometimes it's difficult in this style is, I start with a few colours, but then I just look at my palette. So in this dark mix I'm using. I know there must be some indigo, there's probably some perylene violet, there's probably some sepia, there's probably loads of other stuff as well. So if I try and tell you exactly what colour I'm using, a lot of the time I'm lying, I'm making it up. And I don't want to do that. Sometimes I do these tutorials and I'm really clear as I'm doing it to just use a couple of colours so I can be clear. But the art of this, or at least the enjoyment I get a lot of time from this, is actually in responding and being a bit spontaneous. So instead of having a defined set of colours, being able to look in my palette and go, oh, that looks nice. Maybe I want to add a bit more purple. Maybe I want to add a bit more yellow. Another example would be this orange I'm using now has definitely got some hands of yellow in it. It's definitely got a little bit of quinacridone gold in, but it's also got a little bit of red, a bit of green. It's got all sorts of bits and bobs in it, which have ended up making a tone or a hue that I see in my palette and decide to use. So that's why as we move around enriching all these colours on this page, I'm not saying exactly what colour I'm using. I'm darting around and I'm using intuitive colours. Here's another example. This sort of mucky yellow I've just added, that was me taking some of that random dark mix with that random yellow mix and using it to create a yellow kind of shadow. Now, one thing you'll notice hopefully with this layer, as it's built up, as I've been talking, is that we've got a lot more specifics going on, a lot more darker shapes, a lot more contrast, and a lot more sort of lines being formed by the watercolour. It still doesn't look like much, but that's still okay. We're still just building up the sort of ideas at the moment, and we're still being loose. We're still painting effectively the light, because the darkest darks come when we add our ink. We can still enhance some of the dark. So here, just adding a lovely bit of cobalt to a dark shadow can really make it come to life. And again, just embracing that randomness with a few splashes. And I said there's a lot of hard lines. So a nice technique to use, come back in with a clean brush and just remove some of those lines, just soften them, sort of smudge them, blur them. And before you know it, we're ready to leave it to dry and move on to our ink. So today I'm using this Few Day pen. So this is a nice pen, and you can see at the bottom how it produces a really fine line, but also a really bold, sort of abrupt mark. We can use that range of marks, very similar to, I often do this style with a brush pen, but it's just like a dramatic fountain pen. It has a dramatic range in mark making possibilities. We can use that to great effect, kind of simulating like we were using a brush. It's just a cheats way of adding in a dark watercolour at the end, really. It's just much quicker, much easier, and a little bit more fun for me, a bit more full of character. And that's why I do it this way. So as we move around, what we're doing, we are redefining shapes. So we've got this kind of mess of colours on the page. But this mess of colours is intrinsically beautiful. It celebrates the watercolour properties. What we want to do is take that messy, fun, beautiful abstractness and impart some structure. So what we can now do is go around, we find those initial shapes. Remember those initial pencil lines we made? They are the big shapes. But we can also add texture to them. So we can add these kind of little brick marks. We can add little jerks in the line which suggest the materials of our scene. And don't spend too long in one place. So gradually move through your image. Don't overdo the details in one place. And again, just moving up and down. And look, a lovely place for a bit of texture. And notice how I've left that line white with my watercolours. I've left a gap. So when you're doing your watercolours, it's important to think ahead and think, where do I want the lightest lights? And you'll notice on the left, there's also some of those lightest lights. So as we go up, we can create some white bricks again. And that's just because of a little bit of forward planning. Just going, there's a white bit there that's going to stay white. Amongst all this mess of watercolours, that bit is going to stay white. And again, all these little blurry shapes, which have been formed by random watercolours, have now got a purpose. It doesn't mean we have to stick entirely with that purpose. So notice how lots of my lines are inside the watercolours or outside the watercolours or ignoring the watercolours. But also lots of the lines are capturing the watercolours. So it's just a little bit of experience, a little bit of confidence to go, I like what the watercolour's done here. I'm going to enhance it. I don't like what the watercolour's done here. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to create other lines which will just remove themselves from this slightly odd bit of watercolour randomness. And like that, we can create windows, we can create our big shapes, we can find our roofs, we can find our details and our textures. And it's the art, I often say the art of responding to our colours, not just colouring in, not just sort of trying to control everything, but actually having fun and responding to what happens. So in my reference, there's also a couple of people on the left here. So I'm just going to add them in. One of them's taking a photo, so a little suggestion of that is all I need. And also one of them's wearing a backpack, so that's why I've done a really dark black area. There's also this lovely building at the back, which just for me was wanting a tiny bit of extra structure. And now it's about those finishing bits. So we've got our main scene done, but what's it lacking? A little bit of contrast perhaps. So come in and we can use that lovely sort of flat side of the Fude pen to really create some dark marks. To create, for example, all these windows. So far we've really simplified a huge amount. And we can keep it simple, but we can dot in those black marks, which are going to suggest the kind of characterful windows that the scene does have. I'm not counting the number of panes, I'm just getting an impression. And I'm sure the impression is wrong, but I'm also sure the impression is what I want. It is suggesting the level of detail that I want to suggest. Still, this is about contrast. So contrast being the difference between the black is black, the light is light, and being aware that our ink is where we get our black is black. So just being careful to make sure we embrace that. Don't run away from it, embrace it. A couple of little wires coming across, which again aren't in the reference photo here, but are in mine. And now we are basically done. So we can sign it, feel happy, and enjoy it. This is in the Three Brothers. And thank you very much for watching. If you do enjoy, please do comment, subscribe, and like the video. And for once, Tash is making a little cameo here. So if you've watched this far, well done. Here is Tash giving me a thumbs up. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.